насчет работы?
I came here to present my work with dance and media, basically, and particularly with my work with software.
Yes. And how is your relationship with all this? You know, I know that you had been doing work in this dance and technology field for quite a while. And you are based in?
Zurich.
In Zurich. And you're from Spain.
I'm Spanish Swiss.
Yeah.
Well, my relation, it goes very far back to 1995 when I started working basically with life forms.
Mm-hmm.
And I have developed a whole methodology of choreographing based on softwares, not only life forms, but all sort of software to apply for stage settings, basically.
Yeah.
With video or interaction with video images and audios. But my main concern is working using software to directly affect the body movements.
Yeah.
And it's been a very long process, almost 15 years of researching how can one produce new movements that are not affected by the personal abilities or wishes from the choreographer.
Yeah.
So that means I tried to set up a neutral choreographer, a filter, which is software, which produces by means of algorithms sequences, scores of movements, and these are passed on to the dancers. Yeah. And my particular concern was that a dancer doesn't have to imitate how I move, but also not to use the improvisation of dancers, because then they bring their own habits, their own drill techniques, and their own wishes, so to speak, of how they want to move, how they want to portray themselves. So I'm cutting this procedure, which was mostly the case in the 90s and in the first 10 years of this century.
Yeah. So in certain way you are. Let's say, disembodying the figure of the choreographer, but explain me how, because Cunningham has done a lot of this efforts, or he did, as many pioneers, this experimentation with life forms, and how you put yourself in this, in the context also with Merce Cunningham.
Well, as far as I know from Cunningham, from speaking with dancers who work with him, from reading papers, he arrived at the point of using the life forms, really segmenting body parts and trying to imitate this virtual figure. Yeah. I think I arrived to this same point, why use a software at all to choreograph when you can do it better with the body. Yeah. But there was this philosophical background there of shortcutting the human body or the choreographer's preferences. That was one thing. So, using the software to segment the body parts and building up together. Mm-hmm. But my main concern also was of staging the operational logic of computers. Mm-hmm. That's one concern. So building the dance language based on purely software. And then the next step was really to find new rhythms. How can I affect timing using software? That means that I also, with my improvisation or whatever, my dance, that I don't fix the rhythm myself, the timing. And the dancer also not. So I started working with algorithms to try and find interesting rhythms, like using basically Pascal's triangle.
Yeah, like then you start kind of using this kind of mathematical scores or algorithms.
Yeah. So Pascal's triangle was the most interesting one, but then there was a Lindenmayer system. There was two rings change to specify the angle of rotations of the neck, and mixing all this together to see what comes out, Okay. So unpredictability was a very important factor that I wanted to get out, something that that I cannot predict in what timing a person is going to do that and what sort of movements. You know.
Yeah.
Awkwardness was also a thing that I was interested in trying to get in. And the mechanic, you know, what quality of movements can I get by interpreting what the software produced. And then this was, you know, after 20 years of choreographing, you tend to repeat yourself, you know, so the software was really a breakthrough to break my patterns, or the patterns that we all have.
How was the reaction of the dancers with this? You know, because I can imagine that it was hard perhaps when you started, because it's practically not teaching a step, not telling to improvise directly.
Yeah. Well, the dancers, it was extremely uncomfortable for the dancers because they had never worked like this. Yeah. And I remember I rented an office, which was only 2 by 2 meters. And I did this on purpose because the minute we go into a studio, we tend to use all the space and move around. You know? Wow. And I say, okay, no, we have a computer here, we're in an office, and we're going to just work out possible combinations of how to move fragmentarily, so to speak. And this was extremely uncomfortable for the dancers because they just couldn't move as they would like to. Yeah. And from there, then I would go to the studio, and then the result was that they moved differently. Yeah. This on the aspect of movement building, so of creating material. No? In terms of timing, again, this was extremely restrictive because they would maybe just get a score, you know, a sheet of paper, and say, okay, we have to follow this rhythm, no, like 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, with lots of repetitions, reversing of phrases, mirroring of phrases, whole procedures that involve the dancers more, let's say, their brains, you know, they really had to think. Yeah. And on top of that, the timing, they had to count all the time. And these are dancers who were used to just improvising, moving around with not a given timing, not even having to dance to music anymore.
And not only counting in 1, 2, 3, 8, or 4 or 8.
No, but really having to think where are the stops and synchronize with a whole lot of other dancers. And they had to be extremely precise.
So like, how did you do it in group pieces to keep them synchronized if they're counting?
Yeah, that took a long time to find out. If we don't dance to music with a beat anymore, how do we keep 6 dancers synchronized? Well, at first I put a beat in one of my first pieces, Zone, which was with electronic music without a beat. I actually put a beat into the 60 beats per minute, just a click in the music, you know, which was disturbing in that the audience heard all the time this rhythm in the background, but it became something interesting, something very ritualistic. But then I decided that how to find out a system that it keeps all the dances synchron, and I just worked with metronome. That was the dirigent. And then we figured out a system of how to transmit the pulse directly to the dancers on stage on our performance without the audience hearing it. We had a transmitter built. Wow. Feed with the metronome, and dancers had a receiver in their chests with a little. The nice thing was they had a little LED that indicated the beat throughout the piece, and this I showed it, no?
Almost like a heartbeat.
Like a heartbeat, exactly. And then they had it by earphones. They receive a little click on the ear, and it's all synchronized. And that's how we solved that problem. That was the very beginning. It gave us there's some really nice anecdotes that it gave us problems. We were in Spain performing in a big stage, and of course the stages, they have all this metal there that they work like an antenna. And in the middle
crazy
of the
interference,
in the middle of the performance, somebody moved a little bit the sequence, so to speak, no, the frequency, and she got a football match in the ear throughout the whole performance, and the poor thing had to dance the whole piece.
Oh my God!
With a football match in her ear, she went crazy.
Yeah. So I know that this is you have done a lot of work in this area. So I want you to skip or just to go. Then you have worked with a mechanic. This idea of of taking the persona of the choreographer and the decision making, and then also you have choreograph robots and also work with robots on stage. So can you just talk a little bit about that?
Well, working with the body as a purely mechanical system, machine, led somehow, I got a commission to do a work for a dance piece with a robot, with Robot Lab, one of these KUKA robots that they used to build cars. And this was really very interesting, very limiting, because the robot had only three joints.
It's like a big arm.
Basically, like a big arm with more rotation than we have in how you call this?
The joints?
In your joints, basically, this joint, you can actually move it all the way around. So I created a whole piece with this robot, and then I decided to map the rotations, this choreography of the robot to dancers, And so I chose only the top part of the dancers, basically the arms, the torso, and the neck. So I created a pas de deux with a robot and the dancer completely synchronized using the same mapping, the same choreography basically. And I put them together on stage. So that was my first experience working with robot and with the mechanics. So I tried to make the